Hey, have you ever been thinking about taking a loan out against your 401k? Before you do, make sure you listen to this next clip, because we're going to talk all about what the root causes are for most people, about why they even think about taking out a loan against their 401k, and maybe how you can avoid it. So keep listening, keep watching, because there's some great info headed your way. Don't forget to switch, ditch, and say... wait, sorry, that's the wrong tagline. Subscribe, like, and remind. That's it. Subscribe to these videos, like it so other people will see it, and hit that remind button so you'll hear about all the future videos we got coming out. But make sure you listen. Stick around. Just listen to this thing that's coming up. It's great stuff, and I'll be back in a second.
Our headline today has a lot of good stuff in it, and unfortunately not for somebody, because they're taking out loans when they don't need to be. This written by Ted Godbout over at NAPA-Net, the National Association of Plan Advisors. How spending spikes, credit card debt, and plan loans impact retirement readiness. Here's what they're diving into here, OG. Ted writes, new research by the Employee Benefit Research Institute, conducted in partnership with JP Morgan Asset Management, reveals that households with spending spikes more likely to increase their credit card debt or take a 401k plan loan. This study leverages data from 29 million Chase households and 11 million 401k plans to show us that if you're able, OG, to keep your spending about the same every month, you're much less likely to go into debt. You're much less likely to need either a 401k loan or go into
hold on.
credit card debt.
Let me just restate what you said, just so that I understood it. If you don't spend more over long periods of time, you're less likely to go into debt and take money out of your retirement accounts.
Actually, I know you think you're funny. That is not at all what I said. What I said was people who have spending spikes. When you have something out of I'm not talking about long periods of time. I'm talking about things are going along and then bam, I have a big spending spike. Okay. That is what sends me into credit card debt. Much more than not having a budget, right?
Oh, okay.
Which means we can do this in our head in an average month, but we shouldn't, because it's when those unplanned expenses hit that we get into trouble.
I wonder how this data also compares if you overlay emergency fund access on top of that. You know, like if you had an adequate emergency fund and you have the spending spikes, how much more likely are you to be able to withstand that?
I don't have that data, but what I do have is the impact on retirement outcomes, which you can imagine
can't be great.
Ends up being far uglier than, the dishwasher breaking down or whatever the thing is over the short term. Not surprisingly, Ted writes, higher credit card utilization is associated with lower savings rates and balances in 401k plans, even when controlling for tenure and income. For example, for participants with tenures of more than 15 years and incomes between $75,000 and $100,000, median 401k account balance is $184,000 for people with credit card ratios of 0. And for those with credit card ratios of 80 to 100%, the median account balance is $80,000. In other words, half as 401k account balances are lower if you haven't done a good job of controlling that day-to-day budget.
What also do they define what a spike is in terms of like above median spending? I mean, is it something like, the average consumer is getting hosed by a 5% increase in an outlier in terms of standard deviation? Or is this like all of a sudden I had a $10,000 expense, my normal spending is $4,000 a month? And
I'm looking through this, and the definition that I'm finding is it's an amount that can't be covered through current income. So the answer is that you have to go to your emergency fund, which plays into the fact that people probably don't have one.
Yeah. And then they go to credit card debt, and then the debt piles up, and then they go, I'll just pay this debt off with this other debt because I'm paying myself.
Yeah, the 401k loan.
Right. And then I'll reduce my savings because now I need to pay the payment, and I can't make a $500 401k loan payment and put $500 a month in my 401k. The problem, of course, is that you're paying yourself back with after-tax money. And the number two problem is you're not getting that company match during that time. So even though you're contributing, maybe the same amount, you used to put $500 a month in your 401k. Now you're doing a $500 loan payment to your 401k. You're not getting the company match on that, which is gonna cascade that problem a whole bunch. So sounds like the moral of the story here is build the base the right way to begin with, right? Emergency fund, live within your means.
I do definitely like both of those. The emergency fund, I think people go, well, I don't have money to put away toward emergency fund, but just be putting away a little bit every month so that when you really, OG, you got two choices, right? You can either make sure nothing bad happens for the next several years and there never is a spike, or you can realize that you're human. There will be spikes. And if there is, we have a contingency plan ahead of time. I think that makes sense. I think there's also, though, a way to handle this in the budget. I'll tell you, it's funny. When I first heard this advice, I thought this was really little advice. But the more you can take, like your utility bills, make those the same, go on the annual plan. That doesn't, by the way, save you money from month to month. But what it does is it's one more thing in your budget that is exactly the same and boring, and you don't have to worry about that spike in that area. If you can keep the grocery bill to a same number, if you can keep the more you can keep expenses that are predictable the same every month, the easier it also gets to handle those spikes. I used to think that was like $2 advice, but the more you see the long-term effects of not doing stuff like that, the easier it is to get things messed up in your brain. Next thing you know, the spike creates this horrible debt snowball running downhill.
Well, look at the way that bankers deal with any sort of big purchase that you can't pay for in cash. Do they make the payment bounce all over the place? Or do they go, it's going to be the same $199 a month every single month for the next 36 months? Don't even sweat it. It's the same. They don't go, well, this month it's $199. Next month it might be $399. The month after that it might be $42. No, they make it the same. And the reason why is because it's predictable. Like you said, it's easier to digest in your budget. It's easier to recognize, and build around that predictability for sure.
We will link to this piece and the study. We'll also dive even more into great budgeting techniques, how to build an emergency fund, and more in our 201 newsletter, stackingbenjamins.com/201. To sign up for that, of course, it is free. And Kevin does a great job of making sure he's curated the best links online from reputable sources so that you get the whole 201 on all this.
Hey, Stackers, as usual, we take a headline on the show and we dive in deep and help you figure out what is meaningful about it for you. So thanks for listening to that. I hope you got as much out of it as we did. Really, really good stuff. But let's keep the conversation going. We want to hear what your experience is about whether or not you've taken loans out against your 401k, how that's worked out for you. But comment in the section below and more than or, go to our Facebook group called The Basement, and let's hear your thoughts there too. So subscribe, remind yourself, and like this video, and we'll see you real soon, probably tomorrow.